Hey, Casas Adobe's Pastor John here, and I just want to tell you what we're doing this Sunday at Fun Day School. And so every Sunday, if you watch the welcome, Pastor Michael and I light the Christ candle every Sunday to remind us of the presence of Christ in the world. And more importantly, the presence of Christ in us, the light of Christ in us. Because when you have the light of Christ in you, you can't help but shine. And you can't help but do good. Can you imagine having the light of Christ in you and doing bad things and being selfish? No. So that leads us into what our lesson is going to be in Fun Day School. We are going to be hearing a story about a parable that Jesus tells, and sometimes it's called the parable of the sheep and the goats. Except I don't have a goat, I have a duck. So we'll say the parable of the sheep and the ducks. And what it is there is a king, and he is asking people what they do for each other. And the king tells the people that he calls goats, but we'll call ducks. He said, what have you been doing? Have you been doing good stuff, or you've been doing not so good stuff? And then he asked the sheep. He said, have you been doing good stuff? You've been doing not so good stuff. And the sheep say, well, we've been feeding people, and we've been giving them water. We've been visiting people who are sick and visiting people in prison and just trying to do good in our community. And then he asked the ducks, what have you been doing? We haven't done anything. Have you visited people in prison? No. Have you given food to the poor? No. Have you given water to the thirsty? No. Have you put clothes on people who need clothes? No. Then the king says, you know what? Whatever you do for the least of these, so whatever you do, whenever you give food, whenever you give water, whenever you are compassionate, loving people who care for the community, you are doing it to me. And that's what Jesus reminds us, is that whenever we do something for someone else, we do it to him. And so I want you to think about all of the things that we've done in the church, or things that you've done where you have been a compassionate, godly person. When you have had the light of Christ shining in you, and more importantly, you recognize the light of Christ in someone else. So in the story, the king says, bye-bye, bye-bye, ducks, and you get to come in too. But you know what? There's a challenge. Can we see the humanity in the ducks and maybe try and teach them a better way and help them see the humanity in other people too? So we are going to be talking about this. Whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me. Big lesson. Also, this is the end of what we call the liturgical year. So you might say that it's sort of a New Year's Eve, because Advent starts out the next Sunday. And so Advent is the new year. So this is the last Sunday of the old year, and it's called Reign of Christ Sunday. And it's a Sunday in which we celebrate the presence of Christ in everything we do. So I want you to be well, I want you to be safe, and of course, all things. Be a blessing. Be one of the blessed sheep. And you know what? Even be kind to the ducks too. All right. That's it. Bye-bye. Peace.